Hello, everyone, and welcome to a not short fuse devlog. This time, we've been working on a new Game Jam game, so we decided we're just all going to talk together about the process and what our thoughts were.
If it sounds less professional, that's because this is the first one we're doing live.
Yeah,
We
That's true.
podcast style.
Yeah, so let's get this all started off. Charles, do some programming stuff.
I'm Max. I ended up doing VFX. I'm editing this right now.
I'm Mike. I did the art for this jam, 3D art.
I'm Ken. I did sound effects and started making a song that never got done in time.
I'm Leon. I'm also the programmer of this game.
Nice stuff. Yeah,
That's so
I guess
real for anyone who's done game jams before. Although we should also explain this is just the time lapse footage from making the game that we just. This right now is Charles's footage.
I guess we should start with what game jam we did. So we were doing the Boss Rush game jam, and you might be able to tell from the time lapse going by already, but this is a multiplayer game, which isn't something we've ever done before. So it's definitely some crazy stuff in there going into that. Yeah, and the main focus or theme of the game was spinning, so we had to incorporate that in some way. And the way we decided to do that was with sushi, because of course, what's the first thing you think of?
Sushi. Sushi's the first thing I think of.
Exactly. The thing I led with was the multiplayer stuff, which I guess Leon and I did most of the work since we were doing programming on that part. So Leon, what do you think about the multiplayer and how that all
It's
works?
super complicated because I spend a lot of time like figuring out how to synchronize things and even more time debugging.
Yeah. So for this, we used a separate library kit. So most Unity games, you'd use like Unity Netcode for game objects or something, but for this one, we used Playroom, which is like a sponsor for the game jam, which seemed really cool at the time. But this is a web-only build, and our ability to log things is very, very limited. So anytime we ran into an issue, it was more like a 30-plus minute issue.
So from my perspective, from someone who wasn't working directly with like implementation for like the last few days, I was impressed with how much you guys like managed to just like get working with like an actual multiplayer game that like from my perspective, it was just like this was the kind of thing that I would take like months to like even start using, right? So it was still very cool that we managed to do what we did, which is like make a here. Well, I guess I won't spoil it.
Yeah, and now that we've done it once, we could definitely do it again much easier. I think a lot of it was just a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yes, the classic we made a game, so now we finally know how to make games.
Mhm.
Feeling.
That's true. We'll get to recycle shit from this game into future games.
That's true. Yeah, I think going by in the time lapse now, other than the blocks of code, you can also see some sample assets in there. So I guess that would be a good time to start talking about what our art approach was.
Yeah, it was funny just to see like you assemble the scene in like half an hour when like that was like half of what you see in the game. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So getting into like what the pitch ended up being, we settled on a sushi conveyor belt, a theme, I guess environment for our game. That's going to impact what the gameplay was and the art style. So I went and I gathered a ton of references for sushi and like sushi restaurants in Japan and beyond, and specifically conveyor belts sushi. And then I got to work and I made a gray box for the environment, kind of based off what Charles had already assembled. And then I went to the character because we only had a month for this game. So I had to kind of juggle multiple tasks. I quickly set up like a chibi style character. And I used only vertex colors instead of textures to save time. So the only textures that the characters actually have is just their face. And then I set up a really quick rig and got straight into animating. I made around 10 animations, I believe. and then I duped the models to make the other characters, and I copied the weight paints so that they would all have the same armature.
People really liked how the characters turned out. The friends I showed this to liked it, and we got some comments about it too. That's nice.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was like, I don't think I've ever done that style of character before, so I didn't really know how it would go. And it's funny because it's still really, it's more like a mid to low poly, but it's still a lot higher poly count than what I usually work in. So that's pretty funny. Luckily I didn't really have to sculpt much though. Then I went back to the gray boxed environment and I finished that up. It was here where my references really paid off because I was able to just go back to my mood board and just take inspiration from a bunch of different restaurants that I gathered. And then I made a couple props, like sushi, wasabi, and utensils.
That's actually crazy that you got to take from the mini tuna budget to go to sushi restaurants just for references.
Yeah, yeah. I did a lot of business expenses.
I think
Yep.
the ingredients came out really well. I don't think we're gonna see them quite yet. Yeah, it's still a bunch of like the dev assets. Some UI stuff too. But once they show up, you'll see they're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're nice and simple.
Yeah, I was worried about that too because I've only eaten sushi like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, we should eat more.
Maybe we do need the expense budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tax write-off.
And I think at this point, oh yeah, it's Sushi Wheel. So Leon can talk more about this, but the general, I guess, intro for this is that all the sushi, or in this case, the ingredients for sushi, spin around on a single belt. So we need to sync that up in the multiplayer game and have that circle all the way around and recycle itself into new sushi or new ingredients each time.
I love how fast the belt moves in the time lapse. It's just like
It's just there and then it's not.
it's like a motor.
And so Leon, how was making that?
Like each plate, this ingredient is spawned, and I have a cooldown on that. You can change the speed of ingredients moving and spawning, and I also have a time tracker to track down the spawn time so you can synchronize the items.
That's good. I know when we were first going through that, we had a few different methods for getting those plates to spiral. I think Leon, the first one you tried out was the waypoint system.
Yes.
Yeah, so the plates were going by waypoints itself and cycling through those. Then we had one other one where we just tried like a big tween that was just going in a circle, which worked pretty well as well. But in the end, we really didn't need anything complicated since this is all just a circle. I think later we do get to a point where we need a little bit more than a circle, but we don't get to finish that. So I think here we end up just using a simple circle, which is your standard math, sine and cosine, make a circle.
I'm so glad you guys were the ones figuring out the syncing, and I'm so glad you guys did that.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, Leon and I were like, the syncing is working, we're all doing well. And then as we got closer and closer, things kept breaking.
Oh no.
That was.
I don't know what went wrong, but
A lot of it was with players hot joining. So if a player would join while another player was in the game already, it would you need to sync all the objects back in the game, otherwise the one player doesn't have everything and gets out of sync.
let's see.
So that wasn't something we were doing. And the other thing that was happening was, I think when you died and restarted, sometimes the players would not actually respawn. I forget exactly what the issue for that was. I think it was something with like a race condition where the hosts were trying to send a message to everyone else, but the clients were trying to receive it like too early, so they're just missing it.
I did not realize it was like they just weren't responding, period. Because I remember when we were testing and just like you would open up the game and it would look like you're in, or looks like you're not in entirely, and you're either the only person in the room or you're watching literally everyone else play the game.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
it's
the-
built-in spectator mode for free.
It's because of the secret hardcore mode that I implemented.
Oh,
Didn't tell
it
anyone.
was, it was never a bug.
Thank you so much for that.
It's always there for sure.
I mean, so there were all these like multiplayer related bugs and stuff, but with some really cool stuff that came from using player mids, we actually managed to make it a Discord activity.
Yeah, I don't think we have any footage of that, but I think I could boot it up here as well.
Yeah. It was interesting though, the people playing it for the game jam and just like, you're not gonna people playing stuff for the game jam are not necessarily gonna be like playing it with friends and like not using multiplayer stuff. But people were playing it single player and that was working out too, because it also just works just as a sort of like a bullet hell boss rush.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what we were going for. And no, towards the end, as we keep speeding along in the time lapse, we get to the implementing of some of the sound effects. So I don't know if Ken, you want to talk about how you source those sounds?
I source most of the sounds. So, like, those who don't know, some of my background is in Foley and some of my background is in sampling. And we do a little of both here. I got a lot of Foley for like a lot of the kitchen stuff sounds, so things like knives, chopping, the blending sound effect for like making sushi was actually a pretty good example, because while the spinning sound was itself a sample from tornado recordings, the chopping sounds was Foley. I actually took my cutting board and, interestingly enough, not a knife but the sleeve for the knife, and made chopping motions and recorded that. It was fun, I will say that. And I really enjoyed this project simply because the amount of different things I got to use. Though it was very annoying trying to nail down like what specifically felt the most right for a specific sound. I think the sushi bottle itself gave me the most trouble on that front.
I didn't know that with the cutting board. That's so good.
Yeah, it's great. We finally got use out of those little plastic cutting boards that are probably giving us several different kinds of food poisoning in the long term.
Oh, well, I mean, it's not that great on the food poisoning part, but it's a really nice sound.
Yeah.
I guess now to make the best use of that sound, we have to add a sushi knife to short fuse.
Oh my gosh, so true.
Where are we at in that?
Sushi-Go-Lette has been out now for what? We released it. I mean, we released the Game Jam submission version on like January 30th or so.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So people have been playing it since then, and the ratings and stuff actually aren't out yet. Those are like another week or so. So we don't actually know, but it seems like what Charles said is that the like owners of the jam are trying to play everything, so that's cool. But so we're waiting with everyone else for the ratings and stuff.
Yeah. The fact that they spent a month playing makes me think that they've done more than just actually give each game 5 minutes. That they actually that's very cool.
The fact that it's taken a month is like, that's sort of a cool sign. I don't think I've really seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it's some good. I don't know, if you guys were in the Discord, I don't know, but they had a lot of like discussion back and forth. Lots of people looking for playtests and things.
It would be cool to do, I guess, not more game jams, but like find those kind of like environments for like short fuse development, like short burst development, but like no one's hosting a competition for that. Mid-game development jam.
Right. I mean, the whole this was basically to take just like a creative break from short fuse, and now we're back. We've been back to it now for a few weeks. So it'll be more, especially like the March devlogs will all be about it and stuff. That is coming.
Yeah, we got some stuff here. But everything's been good. I don't think
we could tell them where to find game jams if they want to participate in one.
Yeah, I mean, we just found this one on itch.io.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a website for it, but I can't remember.
I think there is. I don't know. I like using like the jam calendar and then just looking through which ones people have been doing for a while. Like if it's on like their 15th one, it's probably pretty seasoned at that. But sometimes it's nice doing like the brand new ones. There's some nice themes or challenges baked in theirs.
So none of us had done this was the Boss Rush Game Jam again. We had never done this before, so this was cool to do for the first time.
That was good. I don't know if we're gonna do another game jam soon, but I'm sure we'll do one in the future.
Yeah, some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Charles, you have an outro in mind? Wing an outro. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be everything we have to talk about for the Sushi-Go-Lette game jam. You know, this super special non-short fuse part. Although short fuse did pop up in the time lapse a bit if you're watching. I forget completely why that was.
That's funny. I didn't even notice that.
But other than that, if you want to find out more about Sushi-Go-Lette, we have a few shorts coming out that go into more details about the multiplayer, about the bosses, about some of the other stuff. So that's always good to know. You can find out more on our Discord as well. Or if you come back next month, we'll be right back on Short Fuse with should I leak some stuff that we're working on?
Oh, I mean, they did just watch through an entire time lapse, Charles.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the non-leak is that we're still working on permanent progression. I think that's been mentioned at least once before. The other thing we're working on, let's see, is the first short fuse boss, which we'll have a little piece of to show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's really cool.
All right. Well, anyways, thanks everyone for watching, and see you guys next time.